Tulasizwe ugabukala uJehova wako uzokunqobela. Okay, it's a lot of words. We're going to go through it slowly. Are you ready? Okay. Tulasizwe ugabukala uJehova wako uzokunqobela. All right, I like this. Can you get a little bolder? Yes? Okay, here we go. Tulasizwe ugabukala uJehova wako uzokunqobela. All right, now here we go. I'm going to call it out, and you're going to sing with Asher in response. Are you ready? Tula, 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 sizwe. Tula, 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 sizwe. Ugabukala, ugabukala, uJehova wako uzokunqobela. Tula, 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 sizwe. Tula, 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 sizwe. Ugabukala, ugabukala, uJehova wako uzokunqobela. Thank you guys, you were great. Give yourselves a hand. Good afternoon, Chattanooga. Good afternoon. It's a pretty sobering video to see and to applaud to, but that is what I want you to leave with today. Am I doing something wrong? I'm sorry. I'm not used to this headset thing. I'm used to the mic. There may be a lot of emotions that are going through your mind after you watch it like that. Sorrow, grief, disbelief. But that's not what I want you to leave with today. This is a call to action. This is a time for us as people working together to wake up to the call, to those who are crying out there. Does anybody see her? That's what this call is. My name is Susan Mathews. My husband, Santosh, and I, we found Love Without Reason in 2007. And here we are today with this vision, with an approach that we want to do something to end human trafficking. When we talk about love without reason, we're talking about the vision of this cause, of this organization, twofold. One is to help in the fight to end human trafficking. The other is to work to provide free facial surgeries for children born with facial deformities. Now, when we talk about human trafficking, now I will be sensitive, I know my audience, I have children here, but I want to just be clear that when we talk about trafficking, we're also talking about the fact that that's like the big umbrella term for what happens by using force, fraud, or coercion to exploit a child or to exploit someone. So when we talk about human trafficking, there are segments underneath that label. There's sex trafficking, organ harvesting, there's child beggary, there's forced labor. There are many, many things that we can do to end human trafficking. There's so much involved. There's organizations that work to end the demand. There's organizations that work to rescue victims. There are organizations that work to rehab these victims. There's organizations that work to train the victims and teach them a new skill so that they don't go back into the life of trafficking. And there are foundations here in Chattanooga that work in that fight. Some of them you know, and I want to make sure that you know them because you need to join with them. The Zion Project, Second Life Chattanooga, 1040 Connections, Forgiven Much Ministries. They all work. And we work with them. Love Without Reason works with them as well and learns from them so that we can partner together to work in the fight to end human trafficking. It is something that we are all called to do, not just one person. And one person cannot do it alone. So some of you may be asking, I know my in-laws, I know my family's probably asking, why is this girl wearing this great green purse? I don't know if you figured this out yet, but the colors for Love Without Reason are green. Did anybody know that? Catch that? Does anybody know green is my favorite color? There's absolutely no connection to that either, okay? That just totally blindly happened. I want to tell you the story about my purse. This past February, Sunbush and I, we had the opportunity to go to Bombay. And while we were in Bombay, we were inside the city of Bombay and there's like another city inside called Kamatipura. You saw the video. Kamatipura is known as the largest red light district in Asia. That's what we were told. There's another red light district there called Tirubay. And we had the opportunity to go there and just see, where does Love Without Reason fit in the fight to end trafficking? And as we talked, as we met with our contacts there from the Maharashtra Baptist Society, we met with their team. There's 3 people, Pastor Pradeep, Pastor Mark, and and his wife Mary. And the 3 of them were the ones who were our tour guides as we walked through Tirubay. And you can see some of the photos here, but we're walking through, and it's literally 100 degrees in Bombay. It was so hot. It was so hot. You guys were having snow here in February, and we were like sweating. It was so hot in February. And we're walking through the streets, and if you can imagine, this is not a street corner. When we talk about a red light district, it's not a street corner. I'm talking about a city that's filled with slaves, children, young women, boys and girls, trapped in some form of human trafficking. We're walking through the city that our tour guide, not our tour guide, but really the team from the Baptist Society is leading us, and they're talking to us. And as we're walking through the alleyways, you have to duck, you have to climb over. There's open sewers. The smell is unbearable in some places. You see children playing all over the place. You see people, and you see these little one-story structures on the sides of the street. And in front of every doorway, there's a woman standing there. She's trying to sell herself. She's trying to elicit business. And our team, Pastor Kruba and his team, were calling them and saying, hey, come up with us. At the top of this hill, at this city, Turebe, there's a lighthouse. Not a physical lighthouse, but that's what it's known as there in the city. There the people know that if I go there, the women know that if I go there, it's a safe place. Because that's where these people work from the Baptist Society. They give them food. They take care of their children if they need help. They work with them. And so we were inviting all the women. We were saying, come up, come up, come up. We're going to talk to you. We're going to share with you about love without reason. And some of them came up. By the time we finally reached the top of that hill and got to the lighthouse structure, there were about 30, 40 women there with their children. And they asked me, Susan, why don't you just talk to them? And I was like, oh my goodness, what can I say to them? They're looking at you with hopelessness in their eyes. And their children are there with them. And I thought to myself, what do I say? What can I possibly say to them? So I thought, you know, whenever we have the opportunity to share about love without reason, I always start with, well, what is the reason for it? And you met him. It's Philip. My baby. All my baby. 15 years ago, I pulled out the iPad and I just showed him the pictures and I said, you know what, let me tell you my story. 15 years ago, I was pregnant with Philip. And we went to the doctor for our ultrasound. And my doctor told me, Susan, your baby has a cleft lip. Your baby has a cleft palate. There's something wrong with the right side of his face. We're not really sure. But there's a hole in his heart. But what we're concerned about is that we cannot find his stomach. He said, my best suspicion is that his stomach is trapped in his lung cavity, which would mean that when he tries to take his first breath at delivery, after delivery, he'll die. My best medical advice to you is that you should consider an abortion. And as I was sharing this with these women, I told them, you know what? Just like I got a bad report that day, so many times in our lives, ladies, we get bad reports. You're worthless. You won't amount to anything. There's no hope for you or for what you're doing. How many times have we heard that? I've heard that. And I told these women, I said, but the things that seem impossible with us as humans, they are possible with God. And I kept saying that to them. I told them over and over. It seemed impossible. I cannot do anything to save my baby. I couldn't. But the things that were out of my hand, that were impossible for me, they're possible with God. And so it happened that after a few weeks, we went back to the doctor for another ultrasound. And we had heard a lot of different reports. The cardiologist told us the same thing, bad news everywhere. But we went back, and I told the women that we had another ultrasound done. And the first thing that my doctor told me was, I see your baby's stomach. It wasn't there before, but now it's there. He said the life-threatening issues, they're resolved. Your baby's going to live. He'll have a lot of surgeries. I don't know what all he'll need, is what the doctor told me. I said, that's okay. My baby's going to be born alive. And he was born alive, July 27, 2000. You see some of his pictures here of the place where he started when he was born and the surgeries that he's gone through. I showed that to the women there in the red light district of Turbe. And I could see something changing within them. They were so amazed, first of all, that this was the same child. I told them, yes, it is. One surgery changed everything. And one surgery also led to others. There were many things that had to happen in Philip's life. But what was important was, it seemed impossible for us as humans. And it's possible with God. It's possible. So even for you, even for these women, I was telling them, it may seem like it's an impossible thing for you to escape, for you to be out of this, for you to have another life, but I believe it's possible with God. It is. So we were preparing, Sandosh and I and the team, we were going to leave Turbe, we were going to walk back out, and our interpreter that was with us, as we were walking out of the city, was telling me, Susan, all these women, they're all saying the same thing. We're leaving the city now, okay? But the word had spread, and they were all saying, all these women, they were saying, it may be impossible for us as humans, but it's possible with God. It's impossible for us, but it's possible with God. And it was going over and over from house to house like that, just like that. And I was like, my goodness, it was a simple thing, something I've heard so many times in my life, but it was a life-changing thing for them. They believed it. And we began to think, you know, what do we do? Where does Love Without Reason fit in this fight? And that's when the ladies came to me and they gave me this purse. And they told me, we want you to have this. We made it. And we asked a little more questions, and Pradeep, who was on the team, he said, well, I've been teaching them how to sew. We just started learning, maybe 2 months ago, I'm sorry. And so I looked at that, I was like, that's so beautiful. And Santosh was like, you know what? Why don't we buy that? We can buy it, we'll sell it during the fashion show. We can share that with them. I said, okay, let's buy them. Love Without Reason bought all the purses that they had there. And then our minds started to think, what if we were able to do something here to help sustain them so that they don't have to go back to the lifestyle of being used and abused? What if we were able to give them loans, microloans, able to help them, able to sustain them in a business? Because, you know, the fact is, I don't want to say 50%, but there's definitely a high percentage of women who go through rehab, who go through restoration, who learn a skill, and then they have a business. But what happens is they're not able to stay in that business. They're not able to sustain. They don't know. They're not taught. So after a few months, what happens? The money runs out. There's no food to feed the children. There's no roof over the head. And they have to go back to doing what they knew before that made them money. This is our goal, and this is where the 1-1-1 plan comes that you see on your pledge card. It stands for one woman. For 1 year, we can sustain with $1,000 to help them. Not only to help them in their life, not only to help them in their physical needs, but also in the healing that needs to take place. Because what does that do but build their confidence, encourage them, so that they're able to not only take care of themselves, but they're raising their children away from the brothel. They'll have a safe place for them. This is an impact that not only helps mom, it helps the child, and I'm even claiming the 3rd generation. It will help, but it starts with us doing something today. We have to work together. One person cannot do this. My friends, one person cannot. But all of us together can work together to end human trafficking. We can't do it alone. So when you go to the back after the fashion show and come to my table, please think about this. You can purchase a purse. And as the Lord wills, I know it's going to happen soon. We'll be able to teach them other things, clothing items, I hope, pillowcases, and build their skills and be able to help them expand their entrepreneurial skills and build a business. It will happen. So a lot of people ask me, Susan, why does Love Without Reason, why are you involved with trafficking and craniofacial deformities? I mean, what's the link? Is there a link? Now remember, I told you, when you talk about human trafficking, the subsegments under it, we talk about organ harvesting, child beggary. You see, sometimes children that are born with a facial deformity, especially this is going on in northern India and in Africa, these children are purchased by traffickers, and their organs are sold on the black market. Because yeah, they might have a facial deformity, but there's nothing wrong with their kidneys. There's nothing wrong with their cornea. They're sold on the black market. So is there a link between human trafficking and craniofacial deformities? Unfortunately, yes, there is. There is. But there's something that we can do about it. I want to tell you about Shandama really quickly. This beautiful lady. We met her at the Karnataka camp, one of the Karnataka camps that we had. When I first saw her, I was looking at her and it's like, why is she here? She doesn't have a cleft lip. She doesn't have a cleft palate. And she couldn't talk to me. She could barely open her mouth, in fact. When our surgeon examined her, he actually saw that the sides of her jaw, the TMJ joint, were fibrosed, scarred over, and she couldn't open her mouth. So we were like, okay, and she didn't have any family with her. She just saw the sign and had come, from in this rural area. So our surgeon was like, you know what, we can help her though. We can do her surgery, we can fix her mouth, and she'll be able to eat. Then we can send her to speech therapy. She'll be able to communicate. We'll be able to help her. And we were like, well, that's wonderful. Let's do it. Let's do her surgery. So we actually came back home. We were back here in America, and we got a call from the surgeon. And he said, Shantama, she's not seen a doctor for many years. She was 29 years old in this photo. She's not seen a doctor for many years, and we had to take her to the doctor first, and they had to do the preliminary, make sure she's healthy. And her blood work has come back. She's HIV positive. He said, we can't do her surgery. We need to send her for treatment first. And I was just thinking, it was like that, she could not communicate with us. She couldn't tell us. But someone had taken advantage of her facial deformity, of her inability to speak and ask for help, and was selling her, trafficking her. And now she's HIV positive. Is there a link between facial deformities and human trafficking? Yes, there is. Is there something that we can do about it? Yes, there is. You see how important it is to help a child, to fix them, to repair their cleft lip or palate. If we don't, they are vulnerable to these traffickers who will use them and abuse them for the organ harvesting or for child beggary or for even trafficking in the sex world. But you and I, my friends, we have an opportunity to help them. We have an opportunity to change their lives. These are some of our babies that we've been able to help so far. I call them babies. They're all ages, but they're all my children, all of them. This is what we've been able to do so far with the help of our friends, with the help of our generous supporters and donors, able to complete over 200 surgeries. And there's different levels, different places where we're able to help, but generally everything is craniofacial. The camps that we've been able to work in are in 2 states of India right now, but already the call has come to go into Tamil Nadu and Orissa and in other parts of India. And that's our goal. We want to move up because there's people that need help, but we cannot do it alone. We need your help. When you go back after the fashion show and visit my table, I want you to buy a purse. When you look in this purse, you'll have a picture of a baby in there. This is Akshara. I actually got to meet her when I went in February. One of our children that's had surgery, there's a photo in there. Just so when you buy this, you remember always the link with craniofacial and human trafficking. Don't forget that. Remember the work, but also remember that there's hope for all of us. There's hope for these people. But we can't do it alone. We need to work together with organizations, with partners like you. We can do it with the 1-1-1 plan. We can rescue not only that mother, like I said, but even the next generation. Keep them from this evil of human trafficking. We can do it together. So I want to ask you, would anybody like this purse? I don't know. Anybody like this? Green, your favorite color? Anybody? Come and get it. You said it. You said it. Come on. It's fine. Just make sure all my wires are undone. What's your name, ma'am? Stacy. Thank you for being here. Thank you. At the back in my table, I'll also have my book. It's called A Mother's Heart. It's basically just a little glimpse of the journey that Philip and I have taken, our family actually has taken. And if there's a mom here that would like this, please come up here. I'd like to give it to you. There is no mom up here. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I know your name. Mary Ann. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Susan. You know, I've known this family now for about 3 years, and it's changed my life. I was asked the other day by an interviewer when I was called in on the radio. They had just done our Shine commercial. And he asked me, he said, why aren't people doing more about this slavery thing? And I went, I don't know. So I know that today you're going to want to do something. And in your packet there is a card. And Love Without Reason has made it very convenient for you and given you many, many options to give either over a year or over a month or just a one-time. Do what you can today and throughout this year. Collection Birds of Prey. Let's hear it for Victoria Wilmot Couture. Awesome. Come on, let's give her a hand. She is right here at the very end. Can you wave, Victoria? Congratulations, what a beautiful, beautiful collection. And you will get an opportunity to meet Victoria and to get to see these dresses up close. She and the girls will be out on the red carpet as you leave. Thank you so much. And I want to take this opportunity to thank Olivia. She is the model there at the head. She is our fashion coordinator. Great job, Olivia. Thank you so much for all that hard work, getting all the boutiques and all the girls together, and what an awesome job.